Hello and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Frame, and today is Monday, December 11th, 2023. I know it's been a while. I haven't really had that much to talk about. Some of this stuff's very discouraging. You see the news and you keep screaming into the void what the answers are, but nobody wants to listen to you, which is, why I do this. It's my way to vent. You should try it too one day. So this morning, I had no intention of doing a show today at all. I was going to completely ignore the world and just, do a little me thing. Read. I've been doing a lot of reading. Currently, I'm doing a lot of research on the Korean War and Korean independence and the fight between North and South Korea. It all started because my grandfather fought in that war. He's the only family member that I really had a connection with who did actually fight in a war, right? I do have some family members who had fought in Vietnam, but they either were never close with me or have since passed. So, I never got a chance to really be close to him. It didn't really affect me all that much. I would have loved to talk to him, but also I know that one in particular, he did not come home well. So I don't know how, forthcoming he would have been about it. My grandfather, on the other hand, I was extremely close with, but he also did not want to talk about this stuff at all. So given that, I kind of wanted to dig into it and everything. And I'm learning a whole lot. That's the kind of stuff I'm reading these days. Trying to get all sides, which is kind of interesting, because even the American version of what went on in Korea kind of backs up the North Korean version of what happened there, which I think is kind of odd. Like, the American version is totally like, yeah, we didn't want them going communist. We knew the communists were going to win, so we backed the people who supported the Japanese during their occupation. Like, we supported the Quislings, they're called, people who, the collaborators. So the Americans came in and they backed the collaborators because they already had a system built up in place to fight communists. So they're like, yeah, you guys are good at that. Cool. And the North Koreans and a lot of even South Koreans were like, okay, we're not okay with this, America. And America's like, yeah, we don't care. So, yeah. And both the American version and the North Korean version both back that. Like they're not, it's not like the American version is trying to even sell the Kim family as evil at that point. They're just like, nope, just don't like communism. Tough. And both sides also acknowledge that the Soviet Union played little to no role. Like, the original agreement was this kind of like with Germany. The Soviets would take control of the North. America would take control of the South. There'd be a transition period, and then both parties, both the Soviets and Americans, agreed to back away and let the Koreans do their own thing. Of course, the Soviets, once North Korea had established a government where they killed or banished all the collaborators from the Japanese occupation, they're like, yeah, fuck you guys, get out. Which, understandable, if I don't condone the killing part, but I get it, right? You don't want those people in power. They are untrustworthy to the nation of Korea. So the Soviets saw that, and Kim at the time was like, all right, we got our government. And the Soviets like, cool, peace out. And as soon as they did, the American military moved in like nobody's business and totally didn't do it. But the weird thing is, unlike with Germany and Eastern Europe, Russia, upon the advice of the Koreans said, we don't want you involved in this. This is our fight. And the Soviets were like, okay, cool, have at it, right? It's kind of weird. And again, the interesting thing is, while I'm trying to find all sides to this argument, other than communism bad from the American point of view, like they back it all. Like the communist point of view, like, makes all these accusations, and the American point of view doesn't even bother trying to like knock them down. It's really weird. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to, that's just why I haven't talked about a few things today. One thing that really struck me yesterday. So I watch football, Seattle, Seahawks. It's just not their year. I don't know what the solution is there. Part of me is starting to believe that Pete Carroll, while still a good coach, is stuck in the mud when it comes to creativity, and either he's too loyal to his coordinators, or not allowing them the flexibility to do what they want to do. Like Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, was seen as a good hire. Even Russell Wilson was like, yeah, he's the guy. And at times, he does show some flashes of brilliance where, like, I see why you hired him. That is a good choice. And then other times, it's like, why are you running it on that play? Like, and it makes all of us Seattle fans head hurt. Because it's not just me who's like, why are they doing that? It's literally all of social media and all of us. And granted, we're fans. We're not experts. We're not on the field. We don't know that so-and-so is nursing a sore ankle, so that's why they can't do a certain play. Or we don't know the limitations in practice or how they schemed things or anything else. We don't know this. We're on the outside looking in. But I do find it interesting that when the entire fan base is asking the same question, okay, that means I'm not in my own head. I'm not smarter than anybody else, but it is something that's like, I also don't know if it's a quarterback issue, because I do like Geno Smith, and Geno Smith also is like, he shows flashes of brilliance sometimes where it's like, yes, that is why he's there. And even Drew Lock, who played for him last night, also, did well enough in the first half to where you're like, yeah, I can see why this guy is like he's really good. Maybe if Geno's out for an extended period, we can get by with this guy. So I don't know that. I do know our receiver core is outstanding. Our defense has so much talent that it is kind of odd that we are experiencing what we are. Like, at times the offense can put up, like, Geno Smith will put up 30 points and still lose, and it's like, that's a problem, right? For years, it was the opposite, where Seattle would, lose. The other team scores 18 points, and we would still lose. And then you'd have these idiots on the internet like, oh my God, I can't believe the defense failed us. And it's like, dude, they only scored 18 points. Like, the problem with that was not your defense. Like, the defense did its job. I always think if the defense can keep you under 20 points, keep your opponent under 20 points, the defense is doing fine. And that is not your problem. Your problem is your offense. If you can't score more than 20 points, then you've got an issue. And so the problem we're having here is that the defense is insanely talented. Like, everyone, all experts, the scouts, everyone you see on TV, everyone on the radio is just like, there's so much talent on this defense and on this offense, and yet for some reason it's not working. And that, to me, is a problem. I don't know if that's coaching, and I don't know what level the coaching is, right? I don't know if it's the head coach, making demands. Like, he's put such a premium on protecting the ball that he is risk averse, to whereas you're thinking, you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett, you have this new guy you just drafted was considered at the time of the draft the best wide receiver in the draft. It's like, why aren't you being a little more risky? Like, no risk, no reward, right? And I don't know if that's Pete Carroll, telling the coaches below him be conservative, or I don't know if they're seeing behind the scenes that, Geno Smith really isn't that guy and can't make those kinds of risky plays. Whereas if with Russell Wilson, it was like, yeah, let's do it. Although, to be fair, with Russell Wilson, we also weren't being that risky, which also drove us crazy. Anyway, that's a long rant about Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what the answer is there. Maybe it's time for a new generation of coaches, maybe not. But the thing that I wanted to talk about football was, last night we got our first glimpse into the heir apparent, I guess, to Tom Brady. Tom Brady, for non-football folks, is widely considered by most people, not me, to be the greatest football player of all time. I disagree. I think he was the benefit of an extremely weak division for 2 decades. The rules changed while he was quarterback to allow him to be as successful as he was. I don't think you could take him and plug him into any era and he would be successful. And I think that's the real test of a quarterback. Like, if you could take a player, any player, of this era, could you put them in a different era and they would still succeed? And also, vice versa, if you took someone from a different era and put them in this era, would they succeed? Like, don't get me wrong. Everyone considers Dan Marino to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and Joe Montana and Steve Young, these pillars of great quarterback play. If you gave them, and we look at them, and it's like, I think the best one was Montana. He had 4 Super Bowl rings. Dan Marino never got a Super Bowl ring. Steve Young, I think, got 2. I don't know. But point is, they were all considered like greats, right? Everyone should agree that if they played in today's modern NFL with today's rules that highly favor the passing game, we would be talking about perhaps Joe Montana, who, again, got 4 when the rules were not favoring the passing game. You'd have to assume that man probably would have dominated a whole decade. Like it wouldn't have even been close, right? Like, he would have been a legend. He would have like 8 rings. And Tom Brady has quite a few, but you do have to question, like, if you take Tom Brady and you put him in a competitive division, like, say he wasn't lucky with the Patriots, who had great coaching, great defense, and also the benefit of practically starting every season 6-0, because he's lumped in there with the Jets and the Dolphins and everyone else who, prior to this recent stretch, have been dysfunctional the entire time he was there. I do think it's interesting that he left as soon as that division got tough. But anyway, and then he transfers to the weakest division in the league. The NFC South is just a complete dumpster fire. They're currently the team that is going to win that division is the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they are leading their division with a record of 6-7. That drives me crazy. Whatever, that's the rules. I don't want to change it or anything, and I think the division format the way it is fine. I just it is kind of interesting that they're going to be in the playoff hunt with such a weak record, whereas other teams with better records are going to be shut out. I don't know how to solve that. More playoff games is not the answer, though. I think that's silly. But anyway, for years, though, Tom Brady, because of this, greatest of all time status, this GOAT status, would be able to get in the face of referees, coaches, the wide receiver that dropped his great pass. He'd be able to get in their face on camera, like the camera would zoom in, and he would just be spit flying straight at the person he's talking to about just how enraged, angry. And again, referees, coaches, other players, he didn't care. He would do that. And every Monday morning after a football game where he did that, it was like, wow, that Tom Brady is so competitive. He's just really competitive. That's how these competitive guys are. That's how those macho men are, man. When they do that and it screws up, man, they just and it was seen as a positive. It was a positive trait for Tom Brady to do that. Well, last night we got a little taste of something else. Patrick Mahomes threw a little tissy fit when the referees, in his opinion, made a mistake or did not afford him the benefit of the doubt. Whatever. And it cost them the game. They lost the game. So this wasn't just a bad play. In his opinion, it was a bad call by the referees who acted differently, everything else. And the funny thing is, this morning, I'm not seeing anyone say, oh, wow, that Patrick Mahomes, he's so competitive and he's just, he just wants to win, man. There's none of that. Instead, what I'm seeing is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are entitled. He is a sore loser. He is a poor sport. It was unprofessional. And I'm like, Tom Brady did the exact same thing multiple times throughout his 2-decade-long career. And everyone kept telling me that that was a positive trait. That it was a good thing that he did that. And yet Patrick Mahomes does it, and I don't follow this guy as much as maybe some people do, but to my knowledge, this is the first time he's done something like this. And immediately, the social media descends. And it is like, I can't believe, how dare he impugn the referee? Like, it's really holier than thou bullshit. And I'm sitting here like, I I wonder what the difference is between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, right? Because this was kind of Tom Brady's thing. Like, Tom Brady's brand was, if you screwed up, he was going to let you know, he was going to be an asshole about it, right? And Patrick Mahomes has so far been the quintessential perfect quarterback. He always says the right things. He always does the right things. There's a high premium on that. And this is the first time that he's stepped outside of that perfect bubble and been competitive. And all of a sudden, he's getting all this blowback. And it kind of reminds me, as a Seattle fan, if you recall, the year we won the Super Bowl, right after the NFC Championship game, this poor woman, just trying to do her job, do an interview, got an earful, from Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was our cornerback, and he came up and he was just talking trash like nobody's business about a 49ers player named Crabtree. It is a hilarious, very, very widely viewed clip, if you've ever heard it, and he's just going off. And, credit to the poor woman who her name escapes me right now. She didn't sign up for that. She thought it was just going to be a happy interview. I mean, this guy just made the play that gave the Seattle Seahawks the Super Bowl. So she was not expecting this at all. And even Richard Sherman afterwards apologized for it because he, Pete Carroll and him talked about it. And he says Pete Carroll reminded him, you took the focus away from the team win. And now, instead of everyone talking about, oh, the Seattle Seahawks overcame all this stuff and now they're going to the Super Bowl, it's, oh my God, Richard Sherman exploded. And again, the key words there, Richard Sherman was not the first person to go off during an interview. But he was probably the most outspoken player on a Super Bowl team, and he happened to be black. And the words were, oh, he's a thug. There was no, oh, he's competitive. None of that. No, he's a thug. And we see this multiple times in American politics and American sports where the white guy can do something and the black guy cannot. Right? I sometimes will give Barack Obama a pass on some of his policy decisions because I acknowledge that, you know what? I don't think he could do that, right? Like, I think in his heart of hearts, he's way more liberal on certain issues than he acted. For example, when it comes to the border, I think he definitely would have been or had a softer touch on the border if not for he was a black president with a funny name and a Democrat. It almost makes it like he has to overcompensate by being as hard on the border as possible and deport as many people possible because he cannot be accused of opening the border because of his position, right? Same thing even with Hillary, although I don't give as long a rope to her. It is possible that from her point of view, as a woman, she had to run as the most hawkish individual on the planet because as a woman, she gets judged unfairly and everyone would be like, oh yeah, well, of course she wants peace. She's a woman that's so weak. If she had some balls, she'd nuke someone. It's a terrible double standard. The only reason I don't attribute it to her so much is she has no history of wanting peace, like fucking ever. And she openly brags about being friends with people like Henry Kissinger and other war criminals and how she always advocated as Secretary of State to bomb more, to do more. And it's like, okay, I want to try to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you were trapped by your circumstance, that you felt like you had to do something. But you're not giving me, she does not give me much to work with there. I can only go so far with that one. But I do think it's interesting. The only difference between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, other than the fact that Tom Brady is retired and Patrick Mahomes is currently in the prime of his youth, is that one was white and one was black. Correct me if I'm wrong. If that was Tom Brady last night, would we all be sitting here? I mean, unless you're a Tom Brady hater, there would be a legion of fans saying, "Oh, he's just so competitive. That's so awesome." And yet, Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't get that benefit of the doubt, and I think that's that's sad. It's something that we should be aware of. You do have to ask yourself, okay, how would I feel about this if it were coming from X, Y, and Z? That's usually my basis when it comes to politics. Okay, right now my most hated, vile politician obviously is Donald Trump. So whenever Biden does something, I always put it through the lens of, would I still be in favor of it, or would I still hate it if Trump did this exact same thing? It's a good way to filter yourself to make sure that you're not falling too much into either a cult of personality or bias. There are a lot of things that Joe Biden has done that I think if MAGA were not a cult, they would say, you know what, if Donald Trump did the exact same thing, I'd be okay with it. But I don't think a lot of them will admit that. But I think it's healthy as a human being to try and check yourself every now and then, especially when it comes to those things. Anyway. The second thing I wanted to talk about is there's a poll that dropped today that is showing that I believe in Michigan and Georgia, Biden is losing in a head-to-head with Trump, and it's not close. It's outside the margin of error, and he's going to lose those. And there are obviously lots of polls, but it was interesting. This one came up, and it was Max Boot who's like, well, goodbye democracy. Biden has been a useless president. Okay? He served his purpose. His only purpose was to make sure that Trump did not win in 2020. Congratulations. Thank you very much. You're done. He should not be running again. He implied, he never said it, so I know he's got that loophole, but he implied that this is a one-term deal. So, why do I think his numbers are down? Democrats will tell you all the successes that this man has. He's passed more legislation than anyone else, and he's confirmed this many judges, and no one else has done such great things, and he's expanded NATO for the first time in decades, and oh my goodness, and holy crap, he's so great and awesome. And that's what they'll tell me, and I keep sitting here, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's not it. I'm sorry. His big infrastructure bill, it ain't it. I saw a few people online touting that success, and I'm sitting here like, electric cars aren't going to do it, man. I'm sorry. Somebody was trying to say how Joe Biden is the best for green energy and everything, and he's going to save he's the most pro climate, or anti-climate change candidate on the map. He's going to change things. And I'm like, he hasn't so far. He hasn't. Sorry. Electric cars aren't it. That's not the solution. It really isn't. I'm sorry. Capitalism is not going to solve you from this. He's paying car manufacturers to make more electric vehicles. That is not going to solve it. The car manufacturers are going to sell you electric vehicles with your gas guzzlers side by side and let you, the consumer, decide. And I'm sorry, it's not ever going to be a thing. It's never going to be a thing. As long as there are people who are willing to buy gas-powered cars, they are going to make gas-powered cars. They are going to sell them. Period. Joe Biden did not change that dynamic. He didn't, put an extra tax onto gas-powered vehicles. He didn't put extra regulation on them, suggesting that their mileage per hour has to be, so high, because that would also raise the price. And that's one thing he's afraid to do, is raise the price. We will not change our ways without pain. Okay, if you're allowed to be sludge all day, you're going to be sludge all day. This is the conservative argument for why we shouldn't do welfare. Well, then there won't be any more entrepreneurs. Nobody will take chances. Okay, there is some truth to that. Anybody who's got a kid that just wants to lay around all weekend knows this. Like, yeah, if you don't force the kid to go do things, they're gonna lay around. It's human nature. I don't think punishing them is the cure, but that's a different topic. But when it comes to Biden, it's like they're talking about these successes. When it comes to Ukraine, what the fuck is he doing in Ukraine? Okay, now I don't mean why are we there. I get it. But my problem is that Ukraine hasn't changed anything. He has not changed anything when it comes to Ukraine. What has he done? He's paying another country to fight our wars for us. He's doing it the same way it's always been done. He didn't change the paradigm at all. I think it should be noted that, all this money we're giving to Israel and we're giving to Ukraine, and everyone's like, oh, I can't believe, like the Republicans right now are being completely disingenuous, and they're saying, oh, I can't believe we're paying for Ukraine's border dispute because they're Russian bots, but we won't take care of our own border. Full stop, that's bullshit argument. But, we do have to consider, and I think a lot of people don't understand, when we loan this money to Ukraine's turning right around and using it to buy weapons and shit from us, right? Like this money's not going to the Ukrainian people, okay? It's being used to buy American goods, okay? It is a redistribution of wealth. It is taking tax dollars away from us, and it is sending it to Raytheon and General Dynamics and Boeing and any other military contractor in the world. Same thing with the money we're giving to Israel. Like, all this extra money going to Israel is coming back to the United States, to our weapons manufacturers, to our war profiteers. Congress knows this. Congress is okay with it because it's legal to have insider trading in Congress. They know they're going to approve this money. They know this money is going to come back to Raytheon or whoever, so they know the trade or to buy or when to sell. Okay, I guarantee you it is a thing. Okay, that there's a bot on social media. I forget who they are, but there is a bot on social media right now that basically trades every time Nancy Pelosi does, and it is doubling expectations from the market. I think the market is you're supposed to be getting on average a 4% return on investment, and if you do exactly what Nancy Pelosi does, you're getting an 8% return on investment. Okay, that is insane. But if you follow Congress and you do this, like, this shit happens all the time. Literally, if I had any money in the stock market and I had a money manager, I'd be like, I want you to just do whatever Congress is doing. Pick a few high-level Congress people, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, all these rich assholes. Go ahead, and anytime they make a trade, I want you to make the same trade. If they invest, I want you to invest. If they divest, I want you to divest. I want you to do it that way. And that would be all I do. Like, seriously. I would just do that. That would be my entire financial strategy. You don't need to watch Kramer on MSNBC. You don't need to watch any of these guys. You don't need to listen to your Saturday radio shows on your local station that discusses financial matters. No, really, just tell your money manager, do whatever the hell Congress is doing. You will never lose money doing that. Not here. So when I say, what should Biden be doing? I think if he wanted to change the paradigm, if he was serious about this, if he really did believe in the Ukrainians' ability to self-determine, which I think is vital. I think every nation, every people deserves self-determination. If they want to be a democracy, they can be a democracy. If they want to be communism, let them be communist. It's their decision, right? That's me. That's where I am. So if you really believe that the Ukrainians deserve the right to self-determination, Joe Biden should have done two things. And I think the first thing never would have passed Congress, I guarantee you. If there was a stipulation in that money that said, we're going to give Ukraine $50 billion. The rule is, Ukraine is not allowed to spend it on any American goods. You can go to our allies in NATO, you can go to France, you can go to Britain, you can go to whoever's building the rocket or whatever you want to do. Fuck, you can send it to China. We don't care. But we believe so much in your cause of self-determination that we don't want to make a dime off of it. And I guarantee you, Ukraine never would have seen one red cent. Now, Biden, at the beginning, especially right after it happened, I think he could have gotten that through. I think the public sentiment was definitely on the side of Ukraine, especially at the beginning. Before the Republicans screwed everything up and muddied the waters. But it's interesting, Biden didn't do that. We never do that. But if he wanted to change things, if he wanted to put his money where his mouth was, if he really wanted to say the buck stops with me, I believe in the Ukrainian cause, he would have said, America's not going to make a fucking dime off of this. We are merely supporting the Ukrainians' right to self-determination. That's it. We do not want a dime. That would have changed things. But right now, the only thing he's done is the status quo. This is a proxy war. Even he says it. Nikki Haley says it. If we let Ukraine fall, then we will have to fight Russia. Right? This is a proxy war. The entire support structure for Ukraine is so that Ukrainians can die instead of us. And that brings me to the second thing Biden should have done right away when it comes to Ukraine is he should have put boots on the ground. I was on here. I am on the record. You can go through my archive podcast before I was on YouTube, but my podcast is out there. You will find me telling everyone about 2 weeks before the actual invasion hit, when we were starting to get leaks and it was starting to be printed in, the New York Times, Washington Post. There's the U.S. intelligence community very concerned that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. I said straight up, Biden should fucking fly to Ukraine. He should plant himself in Kiev or the airport outside and just be like, Air Force One is the White House until further notice. And dare fucking Vladimir Putin to start a war where the American president is inside the borders. And then after that, when he didn't do that, I said, we should have troops there. If we really believe in it, fucking make the case. For years, forever, my entire life, every single Republican president has been looking at the Middle East and saying, we're spreading democracy. Isn't it great? We're spreading democracy and it's so fantastic. We're liberating the people. Yet all of a sudden it's a country without any oil and we're not doing that. So that's my point. Biden hasn't changed anything. Okay? This is the Democrats always taking the wrong lesson. What was their lesson learned from 2016? Oh, don't run a very unpopular person. Yeah, no shit, right? But seriously, they looked at their candidate, they blamed it all on misogyny, they blamed it on the Bernie bros, even though historically more people ditched the Democratic Party when Obama was nominated over Hillary and voted McCain. Hillary supporters left in droves and voted McCain in higher numbers than Bernie people left Hillary for Trump. So that's a bullshit argument anytime they try to bring it up. No, sorry, it is. But they looked at it and they said, oh, America's misogyny. Oh, it was Russian bots. All this other bullshit. There is truth to that, but they never bothered to ask themselves, what the fuck was so wrong with things in 2016 that made tens of millions of Americans vote for this obvious lunatic asshole? Because he's not happening in a vacuum. It's not like Trump came in and we all realized that things were shit and we wanted something different. We all wanted something different, and then Trump appeared to fill that void. All the other Republicans running were more or less normal. I know Rafael Cruz is crazy, but, more or less, these were all normal, sane, traditional Republicans. The only two people on that stage in 2016 that were offering different paths forward were Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And no one inside the Democratic coalition, even to this day, will sit and be like, why, when Hillary had all the money, she had all the support, she had the name recognition, why didn't she win outright? Why wasn't she just a complete and total landslide? Why did Bernie get so close to beating her and then we lost to Trump? It wasn't just Hillary. Hillary represented the status quo. Trump represented change. There are people who voted Trump because they wanted to see the world burn, because they believe we can't fix things, we can't fix this system. So if we can't fix it, I'm going to vote for the guy who's going to break it, so that hopefully we can build something from the ashes. Now, I think that's a dangerous gambit because you never know what's going to replace him, right? If he comes in here in 2024 and he introduces fascism to the United States and he becomes the dictator we all think he will be, there's no guarantee that what replaces him is any better. Or that this isn't the start of a massive, rapid decline. This could be something horrific. So we need to combat that, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not going to argue with somebody over it. It's like, hey, if you want to vote for Trump, at least know what you're getting into. That would be my thing. But here we have Joe Biden, and poll after poll keeps showing that he's getting, all the traditions and norms. Like, it was totally expected that a Democratic politician would do that hug Bibi approach when it comes to what's going on in Israel right now. That is, I'll bet you they didn't even need to think about it. I'll bet you they had a file. It was like, what to do in case of a Hamas attack against Israel. And it's been sitting there for decades. It is really old. Hug the leader. Embrace the leader. Fully support Israel. Done. Right? And that's why he's not getting anywhere. He didn't change anything. No one thinks this is going to change. Everyone thinks it's going to get worse before it gets better, if it gets better at all. But right now, the United States is doing the exact same thing it has always done. And he's sitting there going, I thought this is what you wanted. No. We're still fighting 2016 all over again. You have a status quo candidate running against a change candidate. Last time in 2020, the change was a little too much, and everyone freaked out and voted in status quo and was like, okay, we want some status quo. But right now, Joe Biden is doing what we elected him to do. He's doing the status quo thing, but he should not be running right now. He was never supposed to run again. Someone else should be coming in, and I guarantee you, if he dropped out and we went through a traditional primary process, and right now I think it's too late for that to actually happen, but if this happened sooner, we had an actual primary process, I guarantee you somebody more radical than Joe Biden would be at the top of the ticket right now. Democrats are ready for some change. Republicans are ready for some change. Like, that's the amazing thing. You have people like Chris Christie and Nikki Haley. Their big mistake right now is that they actually think Republicans want to return to what they were with like a John McCain or a George W. Bush. No, they love the Trump. That was one thing DeSantis got right. DeSantis is like, oh, you like Trump? I will be Trump. Now, his numbers are shit, but that's only because Trump's in. If Trump dropped out, I guarantee you it probably would be DeSantis because he represents something different. Now, ultimately, I think Joe Biden's going to fail, and we're going to be all screwed. And even if the Democrat were a traditional Democrat and it's somebody younger, non-Biden, I also think they would lose. For the pure simple fact that none of the Democrats running are anti-capitalism. They think everything is just going great, man. Everything's fine. Are you kidding? Unemployment's down. Wages are up. Woohoo! There's no change. Biden has all this power. The Democrats had complete control of Congress for 2 years. They didn't do anything. They didn't change anything. Anytime change is brought up, it's rejected. That's something that's really pissing a lot of people off. Is it's like, okay, dude, Trump and the Republicans cheated and lied to get 3 Supreme Court justices on that court in one term that should not have fucking been there. Okay? Best case scenario, Trump only should have gotten 2. Okay? That's it. But because of the bullshit with Merrick Garland and Mitch McConnell, he got 3. They lied and cheated their way to get those 3. What is Biden's answer? How are you going to fix it? It was blatant. It was obvious. We all saw what happened. He was the fucking vice president when Merrick Garland happened, so we know he saw it. What's his response? How do you fix this wrong? Absolutely nothing. If you mention court packing, he rejects it. If you say defund the police, he says, no, we're going to fund the police. If you say we need a ceasefire in Gaza, we need to recognize the Palestinians' right to self-determination, he's like, no, Israel has a right to defend itself. And it's like, I understand your positions. I'm not necessarily against them. They have to be done smartly. But you're dismissing me so easy, right? Like, every time a Democrat or anyone goes on social media and says, guys, the economy is not working, they will be flooded by angry Democrats who are like, no, the economy's great. You just watch too much Fox News. You need to get outside of your bubble. It's only you. You're just spreading misinformation. No, I'm not. And to be fair, my financial situation is fine. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be doing this. But, I'm not denying people's lived experiences. My grocery bill has gone up. I can still afford it, but I understand that it has gone up. I do see gas prices going down, but I also know the president can't do shit about gas prices, and we're already pumping more oil than we've ever pumped before in American history. Trump drilling is not going to solve that. But anyway. Biden didn't fix anything. Inflation came in. I read multiple stories about how CEOs in Wall Street were purposefully inflating prices because the gravy train turned on during the pandemic. Supply got short. They jacked their prices up. And then they didn't want to bring them back down when the supply chain kind of fixed itself. Price gouging is very real. Wall Street is doing it right now. Anytime you look at something that costs too much, that's why. It is corporate greed and nothing else. What has Biden done about it? Nothing. He didn't change anything. He's not going after war profiteering. He's not going after price gouging. He just keeps sitting there going, no, we made more jobs. Americans, you just need more jobs. And it's like, unemployment is at the best rate ever. Jobs is not going to solve it. Jobs is not the problem right now. We are working. Anyone who wants a job can find one right now. It's great. That's not the problem. You're not changing anything. Oh, he went down to the UAW strike. Did he actually do anything? Did he affect any change? He just went down there and was like, I support you. I didn't see him take a microphone and be like, UAW, if you don't support I didn't see him go down and say, Ford, General Motors, assholes. If you don't support your unions, I'm going to pull contracts. I didn't hear him do that. I didn't hear him insert himself into the negotiation. I didn't hear him threaten corporations with retaliation if they don't treat their workers well. I haven't heard any of that. He's not changing anything. His infrastructure bill, his huge infrastructure bill, great. You took tax money and put it into things we should have been doing anyway. But you didn't go above and beyond. You didn't fix anything. Again, the car manufacturer is going to sell you the electric car right next to his gas-powered car until things change. He did not change anything. Americans still want change. That has been the underlying thing since 2008. Change. For fucking sake, change. The only reason Romney lost is because he was not the change candidate. So Obama got 2 because his first term was change, and sure, whatever, he kind of sort of ended the Iraq war. There's no change. There's no change on the foreign stage. Israel is still killing Palestinians. Hamas is still trying to kill Israelis. That has not changed. It will not change under this current form or path we're on. Biden is not executing change. Biden did not change anything with his infrastructure bill. He has not changed anything in the courts. The Supreme Court is still madly against us. He is not going after Republicans. He's not prosecuting Republicans. Okay? The biggest mistake the Democrats ever made was letting Liz Cheney lead her fucking commission. Liz Cheney kept the focus solely on Donald Trump. She did not turn inwards and go after the supporters in the House and the Senate who helped him. There are actual congressional members right now who will help Trump steal the election in 2024 if they can, who tried to help him in 2020. Liz Cheney openly fought against those in the commission. She forced the commission to focus solely on Trump and no one else. That was a huge mistake. The true path forward would have been, instead of Merrick Garland, get a real attack dog as AG and tell them, your job is to go after Trump. The Department of Justice should have gone after Trump immediately. Congress should have cleaned house. Pelosi, as Speaker, the real power of that January 6th commission would have been to purge the House of all the collaborators with the attempted coup. But they didn't do that. They focused instead on Trump. And then the Department of Justice dropped the ball and was like, oh, you mean we can investigate that orange fuck? The January 6th commission actually turned over its documents to the Attorney General, and he was like, oh shit, you found this stuff. And I'm like, they're fucking Congress. You're the Department of Justice. That's like your job, man. But we didn't get that. He did not affect change. Biden has not affected change. What has he changed? Nothing. And I'm not saying he should have. He was elected specifically with that mandate. Dude, we want to return to normalcy. That was 2020 in a nutshell. Everyone agreed. Return to normalcy. Sure. But part of his mandate was also to go after Trump. It's the same mistake the Democrats made in 2018. When they got control of the House, Nancy Pelosi had to be dragged, kicking and screaming to impeach Trump when it was like, that's why the fuck we gave you the House. To impeach him multiple times, over and over again. Yet it was her misreading the situation, going, oh no, we need to respect norms and traditions. The other side doesn't. And this guy is the most impeachable fucker that's ever sat in the White House, and yet you couldn't be bothered? It is insane to me, the mistakes they're making. Biden should not be running for re-election. He should have made that very clear. My mandate is a return to normalcy. On the side, the Department of Justice should have been entirely focused on attacking Trump constantly. He broke plenty of laws. We all know he did. They should have been laser focused on that from day one. And then, yeah, he should be doing the same things. He should be, doing his proxy war in Ukraine because he doesn't really give a fuck. He should be doing what he's doing in Israel because he doesn't really give a fuck. Okay, Biden doesn't care about non-American brown people. He's got the same problem Teddy Roosevelt had. He was really kind of progressive when it came to Americans who happened to be black, but not with black people who happen to be non-Americans. Biden's got the same thing. Afghanistan was a fuck up. Ukraine is currently being screwed up. He should definitely just put troops there. I posted on social media. He should have a battle group going with like a couple thousand Marines, as many as you can fit into a battle group, and directly tell in a live address, he should do a live Oval Office address to the nation, hey, Republicans in Congress, if you don't fund this, I'm going to put our troops, they're going to land whatever the day the funding runs out over in Ukraine. They're going to land, they're going to be there with the specific goal, kicking Russians the fuck out of Ukraine. But he's not going to do that, right? So he's not doing that. And the only reason I'm suggesting he do that is if he's really going to run for re-election. If he wants to be reelected, he needs to start affecting change. He needs to start proving to the American people that he is the guy who's going to change things, because maintaining the status quo is not working. Everyone's living off of this, traditional, well, look at all the numbers. All the numbers suggest the economy's doing great and the people should love him. That's how it used to be. We're in late stage endgame capitalism now. Those numbers are their own bubble. Capitalism is a bubble. This money's fake. It's not real. The jobs don't pay. The jobs aren't real. They're retail jobs. These aren't real jobs. We don't make anything. We don't produce anything. When this bubble crashes, it's going to be very hard to deal with. If Trump's in the White House for it, it's going to lead down to camps. And those camps will be the end of lives for many people. Okay? Again, Nazis didn't just come out of nowhere in Germany post-World War I. Okay? Germany was crushed. The Nazis were the only people offering a path forward. Every other government prior to Hitler was saying, our hands are tied, we have to respect the Treaty of Versailles, we have to do what we've been doing. And unfortunately that means people are starving and people are homeless and there's no jobs and life sucks. And then, yeah, you had Hitler come up and be like, yeah, we don't need that. Fuck that. I'm going to do something different. So, of course, the people went in on it. And there were a lot of people who knew what he really meant. And there were a lot of people who had willful ignorance and were like, well, I can't feed my family. And the other side's telling me I just have to take it. And that's kind of where we are right now. The Democrats are constantly dismissing. I'm on your side. I want the Democrat to win in the next presidential election because I don't believe the Republican Party is a good faith actor right now. Mitt Romney accused his colleagues of not really believing in the Constitution. I'm not a fan of that document either, but we need something right now. And getting rid of it isn't the answer. At least not the way the Republicans want to. So we have to move forward, but unfortunately, every time I make a recommendation, and I keep trying to tell them, look, guys, It's not Biden's age. Biden's age is an indictment against Kamala Harris. Okay? If he had a capable vice president who everyone believed in, no one would give a fuck about his age. Okay? No one gave a fuck about John McCain's age until he picked Sarah Palin. And then all of a sudden it was like, ooh, yeah, but the presidency really ages people? And, yeah, no, I'm not so sure about that. Like, literally, Sarah Palin put his age front and center. Sure, there was the weird comparison between Obama being so young and McCain being so old, compared to. But nobody cared because everyone knew, even if you didn't like John McCain, you knew, oh, okay, he's gonna captain the ship. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. He's not gonna crash us. He's not gonna get us into some bullshit. We're going to be fine with him. It might be 4 years of bad judges and whatever, but we'll live, right? But he picked Sarah Palin, and then all of a sudden it was like, I know, I trust John McCain. I don't trust her. So his age is now a problem. But they don't want to hear that. If I say that, they're like, oh, well, you just hate Kamala Harris. You're a misogynist. And it's like, no, I'm not. She didn't impress me on the campaign trail. Hence why she's not the nominee in 2020. Biden was, right? She didn't impress me on the campaign trail. She's a former cop. Like, no, of course I'm not going to support her. She's not introduced any legislation or any new radical ideas. I don't see her out proposing legislation to change anything either. She's offering the exact same. So, yeah. I'm not being misogynist. I'm not being racist. I'm not anti-Kamala Harris. I'm saying she has not presented herself in such a way as that I feel comfortable with her taking over right now. President Biden has definitely handled NATO. I do not have the same confidence in her doing that. I have no idea what she would do if the worst should happen. God forbid, President Biden falls down the stairs tomorrow and passes. What would she do in Israel? I have no idea her politics. I have no idea what she would do. Would she just continue to carry on, or do you think she would change course? We don't know. That's why we don't like her. She's an unknown, so they need to put her out front and do that. You can't just tell people that or dismiss people's concerns. These are valid concerns. They're not just mine. They're a lot of people's. Same thing with the economy. You can't keep telling people that it's raining as you're pissing on their leg. Yet that is what the Democratic Party is doing. That's what Biden is doing. A lot of them. I see it right now. There are several Islamic groups within the country who are advocating, you know what? We can't trust Biden right now. So if that means Trump for 4 years, okay, I guess we'll suffer through. You see two things, knee-jerk reactions to it immediately online. One, oh, these are just Russian bots. I'll bet you they're all being paid off by Putin. I mean, that's possible, but there's absolutely no evidence of that. Two, the second response you'll get from that. Oh my God, that's so stupid. Don't you know President Trump would just put you in camps or deport you? They know what they're doing. But they're tired of the status quo. The status quo in America right now is Israel first. You can't question them. You can't push back against them. I mean, at no point, even with all the evidence we have right now, that Benjamin Netanyahu has absolutely been a supporter of Hamas this entire time. At no point has Biden come out and been like, you know what? We are conditioning our money on regime change. Netanyahu can't be the guy anymore. He screwed up. He did not defend his people. And he empowered Hamas to commit this attack. He cannot be trusted. We want him gone. And you might say, oh, well, he's the prime minister of Israel. You can't just do that. No, the beauty of it is that in a parliamentary system, you can just replace him. His political party could just replace him anytime they want. If Biden made that call right now, he would. But again, I'm not saying he should do this, but if he wants to win re-election, he needs to start affecting change. And the first thing he needs to change is the fact that he just keeps dismissing everyone. You can't. You can't keep treating the left and be like, where are they going to go? Yeah, you're right. We have no one else to vote for. maybe we won't vote. And yes, I'm going to vote. And I'm not advocating anybody not vote. What I'm advocating for is that the Democrats not just dismiss them as if our concerns aren't real. If the economy sucks for you, the Democratic response shouldn't be, well, no, it doesn't suck. Actually, look at all these fantastic numbers that show everyone's got jobs and more people have vacationed over Thanksgiving than ever in history of America before. And look at all these numbers. You can't do that. Your response should be to listen and then say, we'll look into it. Let's see what we can do. All right? And we're not crazy. We're not disingenuous. We're not lunatics. Like, there are a lot of people in the Republican circles right now who do not blame anything that happened in regards to COVID on Trump, because they're like, look, nobody saw COVID coming, and it's unfair to judge a president on a tragedy that right? Okay, right or wrong. Biden is not responsible for the inflation going on right now. He inherited this. It is also worldwide. And America is doing way better than a lot of our peers. But he needs to address it still. This is all about the margins. He can't just dismiss. He has to say, yes, you're right. Inflation is bad. Here is what I am doing. Here is what I will do. Or at least make the case. Like, come out and be like, hey, you know what? There's a lot I would love to do. There are these assholes in Congress. They control the House right now. They are a raging dumpster fire, and I can't do anything with them. If you, the American people, want something, you need to vote them in. Like, I'm willing to go that far, but he is not making the case that we need to support him. Right now, the case the Democrats are making is either complete dismissal of you're wrong, it's not really like that, or, well, what are you going to do? Vote for Trump? He's going to be worse. And it's like, Biden shouldn't be running, but he is now. And I think it's too late to change course. I think we've got to back him. If he wants to win, he needs to start affecting change. And he needs to either dump Kamala Harris or put her front and center. She needs something to do that will allow all of us to witness why you picked her. Because right now, right or wrong, the perception is you picked her because she checked boxes. Woman. Black. That cannot really be your vice presidential pick. Not now, not with your advanced age. If you were Obama's age, sure, man, it wouldn't. No one would care. No one cared. Like, really, no one cared who Obama's vice president was. It was great that he had you, Vice President Joe Biden. That was great because we're like, oh, okay, but Biden's been around the block. He knows all the ins and outs. He knows everybody on Capitol Hill way better than Obama could in 3 years. Like we got it. It made sense. But also, no one was worried because, one, Obama wasn't going to die. And two, if he did, okay, Joe Biden's completely qualified and serviceable. He knows what to do. Like, it was unquestioned. Good pick. I would have picked Anthony Richardson. That's me. But whatever. That was a good pick. You need to do something. And me telling them they need to change is not me criticizing them so much as trying the fuck to help them. So please. That's where I am today. Yeah. Maybe I'll do more of these. This wasn't really scripted. I just had a couple things to say and wanted to say them, and they've been bugging the living crap out of me. Some of the news does get depressing, and I just can't find it in me to come on here every day and talk about more dead Palestinians or dead anyone. You know, that's really sad. There were a couple of school shootings that happened, a couple mass shootings that happened. I just couldn't bring myself to put together the usual montage that I do. You know, it's one of those things. It's like it's very easy, and I totally get those people who just can't do politics every day. It's very easy to just be like, you know, I know I pay for the subscription for this newspaper, this politics magazine, but but I don't want to use it today. I don't. I want to play my video game. You know, I have video games and they're fun. And the thing about video games I love is not their distraction. Sure, that there is a distracting element to it, but the best part about the video games I play is that I am a character who can affect change. I'm the hero. I can actually control something. I can't control anything from here. Here I'm just screaming into the void and hoping one day the void looks back and is like, you're right. So, yeah. I don't think I have anything else. It's December 2023. God, that's coming up on us. Oh, I saw an interesting movie last night. I rented it. It was on someone's like top 10 movies that you missed from 2022, and it's a movie. It's called Kimi, Kimi, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Very good. It was a good suspenseful thriller kind of a thing. It's a new take on the Hitchcock movie with Jimmy Stewart, where he's stuck looking out the window because he's got a broken leg. In this case, the woman, and he Jimmy Stewart witnesses what he thinks is a murder. And but he's stuck. He's stationary, right? So he can't do much about it. So he's got to like piece everything together that way. It's a new take on that. In this case, it's a woman with you find out she has agoraphobia, so she won't leave her house. She's stuck, and because of the internet, because of her job, she thinks that she witnessed a murder, basically, and she's got to tell somebody about it. She's got to help somebody, and it's very good. It is an adult movie. It's not too much, but there's enough. But yeah, I really recommend that one. I had to rent it on Prime, and I had a deal discount, so it was only like $1. But apparently it's streaming on HBO Max if you wanted to give that one a shot. I do recommend it. It was very good. It was it was freaky. And I'm a big Soderbergh fan. You can always count on him to do something interesting and weird. Other than that, I want to try to see Godzilla -1. I keep hearing nothing but great things about it, and maybe someday this week I will. Probably tomorrow. The video game I want to play is down. But yeah, other than that, you guys try and stay safe. Wear the mask if you feel you need to. It is that season. COVID rates are climbing, so do take care of yourselves. Definitely get the vaccine booster if you haven't. I haven't, but that's because of availability. That's something Biden could do. He could like stop treating COVID like it went away. That was something I was never happy about. Yeah, but other than that, you guys have a great day. Take care. Be safe. We'll see you next time.